Hey guys! A little different of a topic for today. I thought I would talk about dealing with disappointment and trying to do what you can out of feeling disappointed and trying to figure out a way to get beyond it and still remain somewhat productive, if not positive. That could be too hard sometimes. But it is important as far as topics go, I feel, because it's something that a lot of people deal with all the time, and it's one of those things that generally aren't planned. Like, you're not typically planning to be disappointed by something, it just kind of happens. So it's one of those things that comes up unexpected, and because of that, it can be difficult to know what to do, and it can be overwhelming, and it can be one of those things that can be debilitating if you let it. I am very familiar with this topic. I have a lot of familiarity with being disappointed. I have not had a moment in recent history that I feel like I've been getting ahead. I constantly feel like I'm trailing behind and having to play catch up with just about every aspect of my life. And it can be really frustrating and disappointing. And it's one of those things where if you let it, you could just wallow in it, and not really try to do anything to change your situation or change how you feel. It's important, though, to try to move beyond the initial feeling, I think, because it can be such a powerful feeling that you end up not wanting to do anything. But it's one of those things where it's manageable. It's something that takes you by surprise. You're not expecting it. You're not wanting it to happen. But I think the single most important thing that you can do when confronting a very disappointing situation or a very disappointing result is to plan. It always helps me to have a plan, to come up with something that will help make the situation better immediately. In fact, generally when I feel the worst is when I've come up with every kind of plan I can imagine and I'm just out of ideas. And typically when I talk to people after I've gotten to that point, what I'm looking for is for them to come up with something that I haven't thought of. And it's a big ask to have for people because nobody knows exactly everything you've thought of, all the plans you've come up with and dismissed for one reason or another. So it's difficult because there's not always someone there to help you and to help you through it. And I typically do a lot of stuff by myself. When you're all on your own, though, it makes it a lot more difficult. And disappointments can not only be emotionally draining, but they can be financially draining. And when you are in a, pretty fixed income as it is, or even worse, a variable income where it's not fixed, that you don't have a set amount every single month, that it shifts from one month to the other, so it's unpredictable, then it's just one of those things where you just have to work even harder to make sure that disappointment isn't something that totally consumes your life. Now, when you come up with a plan, make sure that you are coming up with a plan that is the most practical solution that you can do at the time. I think sometimes people want to plan very emotionally, and while that might feel good to do something because a certain emotion is driving that decision, I think it's really important to think about the problem and think of the best solutions that you can that will cover all of the bases. So try to write it down. I think that's an important one, is writing down the plan and coming up with things and writing things down, because your brain is probably, once you're in problem solving mode, your brain is probably going to go like a million miles per hour. And while it's doing that, it can get really overwhelming, and it's easy to forget what's going on and what was the thing I just thought of about 5 seconds ago? I can't remember now. So it's really important, either through like actual pen and paper or just writing a note on your phone, to come up with all the solutions that you can possibly come up with. Even if you know that that particular solution isn't going to work, just by the act of writing it down can help trigger other ideas that are related to that one that doesn't work into thinking into ways that might actually work later. Another thing you could try is talking with someone and kind of venting, so getting your frustrations out, but also making it a little constructive and trying to think of the things that might help. So you can vent, but at the same time, after you're done with that, try to think more constructively. Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we do this? How do we make this work? And sometimes talking, even if you're just talking at someone, but someone's listening, then that can help. If you don't have anyone, sometimes even just recording yourself talking. Sometimes I've come up with ideas while recording one of these, actually, for either YouTube or, one of the things that I'm working on social media, and I'll be talking and then I realize like I'm coming up with a solution as I'm talking it out, just out loud. And it seems weird and kind of funny, especially if you're not used to talking into a camera, but it can be really helpful too. So that is another technique that you can try in case you are kind of stuck for ideas. And finally, once you have written down a bunch of possibilities, to focus on one at a time. Because if your problem is huge and your solution is to just fix it, well, just fix the thing. It's not very constructive. It's kind of self-defeating and it feels like too big of a thing and you can't really focus. Try to break it down into small bite-sized pieces. And one of the ways I find is the easiest to do that is to take the final solution that you want and then work backwards. So just for an example, I currently need new tires for my car. So if I just said, go get new tires, that's a huge thing. And if you don't have the money or a credit card to do that, then that's just like an impossible ask. So you work backwards. Okay, so first step is deciding how much are the tires that you're looking for, so you know exactly how much money you need. And then you can look into, okay, so when do I need these tires? Do I need them right now, or can I wait a month or, a week or two? It's important to know the deadline between all these things. So then you work backwards again. Okay, so I need them really quick. All right, so I don't have the money for it. How do I get that money? Oh, I can offer commissions, or I can adjust my schedule or my expenses this month so I don't have as much, or I can offer to pay something half now and half later with someone who's willing to work with you. Just try to continually think through the different solutions. And I personally find that that really helps. So once you know exactly the solution you want at the end of the day, how much time or money or energy that solution takes, and then the individual steps that it would takes to get to that solution, I find it's a lot easier to then work toward that solution. I feel less dread. I feel more determined. I feel more accomplished once I start working on things toward that solution. All that basically culminates into feeling less overpowered and overwhelmed by a problem and disappointment, and instead realizing that because I'm working toward this solution and I'm taking even one small step toward that solution, then you can feel better about the whole thing. You can feel more productive towards it, and hopefully you can overcome this problem and this disappointment. This is what works for me, but I feel sometimes the things that work for me can help other people. So that's my hope with this video. If you'd like to see more of what I do, then you can check out @SharReedArt on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you are interested in supporting my personal project, then you can check out my stuff on Patreon at patreon.com/Shareed. That will be it for today. I hope you appreciate this picture of Grumpy Bojack. I felt like he was a perfect model for my talk on disappointment, because doesn't he know about it? Alright, I'll talk to you later. Bye.